I needed a moment because what I read in that letter, it hit me. Over 32 years, I've read countless apologies. Some genuine, some perfunctory, some strategic. But this letter, it was different. It wasn't written to get a lighter sentence. It wasn't drafted by a lawyer. It came from a young man who had 90 days to think, reflect, and decide who he wanted to be. 90 days ago, Derek Harmon stormed into this courtroom and was the most disrespectful defendant I'd seen in years, maybe ever. He insulted Officer Medina, a dedicated mother and 7-year veteran. He mocked my clerk, Mrs. Chen, who served this court for 24 years. And he looked me in the eye and said, word for word, "This court is a joke, and so are you." I could have held him in contempt. I could have locked him up right then and there. But I didn't. I made him an offer, a chance. I told him, write me a letter. A real letter. Come back in 90 days and show me who you really are. He laughed. He thought it was a joke. But he walked out. And now, 90 days later, he's back. What happened in those 90 days is the reason I do this job. It's the reason I believe in people. 90 days turned the worst day I'd seen in years into a moment of redemption. This was no small change. This was transformation. He came in for a simple red light violation. But what he brought with him, what he had become in 90 days, is what makes all the years on this bench worth it. She read the charges slowly, deliberately, because every word matters in this courtroom. The violation was clear. Red light running, $185 fine, 2 points on the license. Evidence, open and shut. Dash cam from Officer Medina's patrol car, time-stamped and undeniable, showing Mr. Harmon's silver Audi A6, plate Harmon 3, entering the intersection 2.3 seconds after the light turned red. He wasn't close. The light had been red for over 2 seconds before he crossed. And yes, you could see why he was distracted. He was on his phone. Legally speaking, it was simple. 5 minutes. Pay the fine. Move on. But when I asked him if he had anything to say, he didn't address me. No. He turned to Officer Medina, sitting there in full uniform, ready to testify if needed, and sneered, "Officer Medina. Huh? Let me guess. A cop with nothing better to do than harass people at 9 p.m.? Don't you have real criminals to catch? Or is this the best Providence PD can do?" That was it. That was what he called her, a cop. A professional who had dedicated 7 years of her life to serving this city. A single mother, raising 2 kids, paying for her daughter's soccer league by working extra shifts, doing everything by the book, and she sat there, silent. That's what officers do. They endure, they follow procedure, they maintain professionalism. But I saw her face. I saw the hurt. And I knew that words like that sting even when you don't show it. Then Mrs. Chen began reading the charges. Dorothy Chen, my clerk, 24 years of service, 6 grandchildren. Everyone in this courthouse loves her. She reads slowly because every word carries weight here. And as she read, I kept watching Mr. Harmon, the same young man who mocked, sneered, and defied authority just 90 days ago. This wasn't just a red light ticket. This was a test of accountability, of respect, of character. And I had a feeling, something in my gut, that the next few minutes would reveal far more than just a violation of traffic law. "You have a choice, Mr. Harmon," I said, keeping my voice calm, deliberate. "You can continue down this path, disrespect, mockery, anger, and face the consequences. Contempt, fines, maybe even jail if I have to enforce respect. Or you can do something different, something real. Something that shows you understand the impact of your actions. You can write me a letter. A real letter. Not excuses. Not complaints. Not sarcasm. A letter that tells me who you are or who you want to be." He laughed at first. A short, derisive chuckle. "Fine," he said. "Your little letter." And he walked out. But that's the thing about choices. They linger. They simmer. They grow. And sometimes people surprise you. 90 days later, Mr. Harmon returned. Same man, same face, but something had shifted. He handed me a letter. I read it quietly, slowly. And as I read, I felt it, the change. He didn't write with sarcasm. He didn't mock. He didn't blame anyone. He acknowledged what he had done. He admitted his mistakes. He recognized the people he'd insulted as humans, not obstacles. And somewhere in the words, I saw that better man I had spoken to all those weeks ago, finally finding a voice that it was short. Simple, honest, but it carried more weight than any fine, any ticket, any punishment ever could. That I looked up at him, and for the first time, I didn't see defiance. I saw respect. I saw reflection. I saw the beginning of someone choosing to live differently. And that, in this courtroom, is what matters most. Not punishment, not anger, not revenge, but the chance for someone to stand up, look at themselves in the mirror, and decide to try again. That's why. And Derek wrote about that too. He said in the letter, I had no idea. 30 years. Every week. Every Saturday. While I was busy being angry at life, my father was quietly changing the world, one plate of food at a time. I thought he was soft. I thought he didn't matter. I was wrong. He mattered more than I ever realized. And I want to matter like that too. He wrote about the weight of that realization, how it humbled him, how it shook him to his core. The boy who stormed into my courtroom, mocking, sneering, disrespectful, he had begun to see something else. Responsibility, kindness, humility. Not just the kind you talk about, but the kind you live every single day. And then Derek wrote about himself. He said he started to look at his own life differently. The way he treated people, the way he reacted when frustrated, the way he thought he was above it all. He realized that none of it mattered. What mattered was how you treated others, how you made them feel, how you helped them, how you left the world a little better than you found it. He wrote about Officer Medina, about Mrs. Chen, about me, about everyone he had disrespected in that courtroom. And he said, I want to be better. I don't want to be the guy I was that day. I want to be someone my father would be proud of. Someone who sees people, really sees them, and treats them with respect. I'm done pretending cruelty is strength. That letter wasn't just an apology. It was transformation. It was grief, reflection, and commitment all rolled into one. And as I read it, sitting there in my courtroom, I realized that sometimes all it takes is a chance, a challenge, and a moment of clarity to change someone's life. Derek Harmon had walked in as a disrespectful, arrogant kid, and in 90 days, he had become a young man trying to live up to the lessons his father had silently taught for decades. And then Derek wrote something that really got to me. He said, Your Honor, I don't want to be empty anymore. I don't want to be the guy who disrespects people because I feel entitled. I don't want to live my life thinking wealth and status make me important. I want to live like my father. I want to see people, really see them, and give what I can when no one's watching. That's the only way I'll matter. That's the only way I'll honor him. He described how every Saturday at Amos' house, pouring coffee, serving breakfast, listening to stories, cleaning tables, he felt something shift inside him. Each simple act, each thank you, reminded him that real strength isn't about arrogance or money. It's about empathy, humility, and quiet service. And with every shift, Derek said he felt closer to the man his father really was, and closer to the man he wanted to become. He wrote about the lessons he had learned from his father's life. The secret generosity, the dedication to others, the countless lives changed without recognition. And he realized that his own actions, however small, could now ripple out and make a difference. Derek closed the letter with a line that stayed with me long after I put it down. I don't want to be a joke anymore. I want to matter. And if I can even touch one life like my father touched so many, then maybe, just maybe, I'll be the man he always wanted me to be. Judge Caprio looked at that letter and saw the transformation unfold. A young man who had walked in full of arrogance and anger, now stepping forward with humility, compassion, and purpose. This wasn't about punishment anymore. This was about opportunity, growth, and redemption. And Mrs. Chen, quiet as ever, she wiped her eyes and smiled at him. The courtroom, usually a place of formality and tension, felt different that day. It felt alive. It felt human. Because what we were witnessing wasn't about a traffic ticket anymore. It was about redemption. It was about a young man stepping into the light after carrying so much darkness that I looked around at everyone in the courtroom, and I could see it, the impact of real change. People aren't statistics. People aren't cases. People are capable of growth, of humility, of compassion, even when the world has taught them otherwise. And Derek, in those moments, embodied all of that I finally spoke, my voice steady, but filled with emotion. Derek, remember this feeling. Remember what it means to face yourself honestly, to see your mistakes, and to choose a better way. Let it guide you every day. That is how you honor your father. That is how you honor yourself. He nodded, tears still running down his face, and whispered, I will, Your Honor. I promise. And in that moment, the courtroom wasn't just a place for law. It was a place for understanding, for transformation, for hope. That's why I do this job. Not for fines, not for citations, not for punishment, but for the rare, extraordinary moments when someone truly changes and you get to witness. Exactly. That's the heart of this story. Change isn't about being forced to do the right thing, and it's not about punishment. It's about choice, reflection, and the courage to become better, even when no one's watching. Derek Harmon could have stayed the same person who insulted and mocked. Instead, he chose to honor his father's values, repair the harm he caused, and live with integrity. Officer Medina's words and the thoughtful gestures toward Mrs. Chen show the ripple effect of that transformation. Small acts of accountability and kindness, apologies, donations, recognition of others' dignity, can heal wounds that no punishment ever could. This story reminds us all, redemption is possible. Change is possible. It's never too late to reflect, to act with empathy, and to strive toward becoming the person we're meant to be. That's why judges, teachers, mentors, and even strangers can make a difference. Sometimes the chance to choose differently is all someone needs.